Nigeria sometimes, but like this place too is good. So that's it.
Okay, that's it.
I am done.
You're done? Okay, that's a very short, very short story and quite inspiring too. I just want to ask if you had any. Did you study the same course you studied in Nigeria, or was there like
Oh, no.
a switch?
So I did. So I did finance in Nigeria. That's banking and finance, but I did marketing here.
Oh, okay. So, why the switch to
But
marketing?
I don't like finance. I did finance at university, but I don't like finance. So I don't like numbers. I prefer concepts and words. So.
Okay, so
But it's all in the same field, so that's right.
okay, that's nice. Thank you so much. So what would you say is the difference between the standard of education there and here? Did it actually
This guy. Okay. Like obviously it's different. Like this place is better by far. I like the classes are smaller. You have like a smaller teacher to class unit. So like the teacher knows you. Not like when I went to Unilag and we're like 300 in one class. Like in my class here we're like 30. So sometimes 15. So like it's closer. You can always go to your lectures every time. They have like officers where they're supposed to be in the office and they beg you to come to meet them, which is the opposite of Nigeria where they chase you out of the office.
yeah, so I have two other questions. Was it harder for you studying there? And then how was it like based on your confidence level? Did you say you have more confidence outside the country or here in the country?
Okay.
Nah, the first question was is it hard? What did you say the first
Yeah,
question was?
is it harder studying there?
Um, let's say I won't say harder, but it's more work. Like you have to do more work. But maybe it's the programming, but like we have so many assignments, so many presentations, which in Nigeria I went to Unilag for 4 years and I think we only had like 5 presentations. But like in like 18 months here we had like 20. So the difference is much. There's more group work, there's more speaking up, like you have to talk. So in that sense it's hard because like I'm just used to submitting like 2 assignments in a semester and I'm done. But then here you have like to submit stuff every week and presentations every week basically.
So it's more
Yep. So
stressful.
like yep. It's more like it takes more out of you, but it's good because that's actually what education is supposed to do.
Okay, so would you say
Then the second one was what did you ask?
your
What's the second
confidence
question?
level? Did you hear me?
So I think I heard you. Yep, I think it's better. I feel like it's better here though, because you have more opportunities and you have more people that are open to listening to you. So like you don't feel out of place because like even if you ask stupid questions, there's nobody going to shame you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Um, Thank you. So I'll just call on the next person, Mr. Wale. Please, can you share your experience with us?
Thank you very much.
Let us know if you had any significant experience, any ups and downs, any failures. Thank you.
Okay.
Sky, you didn't let me say my failure.
Okay. So I'll just try to I'll divide the conversation into like 2 structures. First thing I'll talk about like my own personal experience, how the whole thing came out, and also my advice concerning like the whole application process. So I finished school 2016, did my law school in 2017. Did my law school 2017. And I lectured for 1 year during my NYSC. And after that time, I applied for my master's in University of Calgary. the specialization is in energy, natural resources, and environmental law. Also oil and gas. The application started in ending of 2017, and I got the admission March 2018. I got here August 2018. My master's lasted for between 12 to 15 months, but school that would give me the best scholarship, which was the University of Calgary, and I took it. And it's been pretty smooth so far, all glory to God. But let me just try to talk about how everything came out. So I divided it into 5 or 4, sorry. The first thing is to plan ahead. Second thing is outline your interests. The third thing is to build your profile. And the fourth is from 2014-13, I had the dream to always do a master's abroad. I wanted to get a foreign education and to just improve myself, my skills, and to give myself the capacity to get into different fields. So my dream was to do a master's and a PhD. So by 2013-14, I went for conferences in US, in Italy, several places, and the reason why I did those things was to build my profile. And I understood that I didn't know exactly the field I was going to do my master's in, but I understood was going to be in the public law sector, which includes, second interest towards the goals that I set for myself. So the first thing was my academics, try to put it above 4 points. Second thing was my mentorship and tutorship. I tried to take tutorials regularly to just build my portfolio and also to help myself. And the third one was extracurricular activities. Ensure that I did a lot of activities that would give my resume flavor. And the fourth point is for leadership positions. So I was LSS president my set, so that was able to help me build that aspect. And so my interests actually aligned with me building my profile to the point that I was able to have an ideology as to what I was going to do 5 years, 10 years, and it gave me a set goal. So I had this same note I've been using, so I had to bring it out because it was concerning masters. So I used the same notes from like 2017 to outline every single thing I wanted to do for the masters. And was able to give me like I had weekly, monthly, and sometimes quarterly goals of the year, which I outlined that helped me towards the application process. So the fourth thing I did was to get my documents ready. At 2017, I got my unofficial transcript from UNILAG as my statement of purpose, of interest, statement of results, sorry. And the next thing was to build my resume. I got a research proposal, met lecturers, spoke to them about best topics that would get me to the school. So I got like 4 topics for different schools. Some topics were for commercial law, some were for energy law, some were for international law, and the last one was for oil and gas law. I also did my statement of purpose, and I have I can send that to you later on. I typed something small concerning these aspects that can help people to understand how to, build theirs when they're doing theirs. And the last one was to get my references. So I've been privileged to be in several committees that assess the application of international students. And one of the things I find is that a lot of students get references that are very mediocre. And I kind of divided it into 4 kind of references. There's a lazy reference, and a particular person. I've seen different lecturers or professors from different universities write references for people, and they just write one line. Whenever I see that and I want probably assess that credential, I'm giving the person 10% of 100 because the reference is very poor, it's very lazy. There's no in-depth understanding about the particular person. Next one is the mediocre reference, and that reference is more like 4 lines. Just I know Mr. Adewale Ajayi and you contact me. That's a very only from 7 to 8 lines. But one thing that is missing is that the lecturer or the professor or the person writing it does not include details as to how the masters will attain the goals of the particular person based on his understanding. So the real reference that we need to look at is the active reference, and the active reference concludes, or from a third person perspective, talks about who the student is, what made them choose a particular school, why the course, and where that course will help them achieve their goals. So those are the things I kind of did, and I began to build these things regularly until the point of my application, and it came out successful. So that's my experience in short summary. If you have any questions, I'll be willing to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dewali, for that very insightful session. So far, there are no questions, but I have questions of my own. I would like to know what the funding process was like for you. How were you able to get a scholarship? You said you had you applied to 5 schools. Did you get scholarship from all these 5 schools? Yeah.
So thank you very much for the question. I got scholarship for 3 schools. I didn't get for 2. So this was it. I've always had a choice to, or the interest of lecturing. So I kind of understood one thing that I find in Canada, except for the public law sector, the thesis based and course masters, because really adding so much value to the university. Whereas the thesis masters is more based masters, you tend to do more work, it takes a longer period of time, but your thesis adds to the portfolio of the university because you're bringing a novel, or sometimes not so novel, you're adding to the research database of the university. So they are more willing to fund you because it also aids them. So what I did was that I applied to a thesis-based masters because I was more able to get scholarship from that particular end. So I got full scholarship from my school. I got 70% scholarships from University of Ottawa and University of Victoria, and I got about 20% from University of Queens. So I kind of outlined my interest to suit me. So that's why I went for more of lecturing, because it was going to give me a foundation for research. Because whenever you're writing your statement of purpose, you want to tell them who you are, what you've done before, how that affects what you're going to do based on the masters. And people tend to give scholarship, but they tend to give scholarship more to students that are able to show them that the masters is going to aid society development, is going to aid sector-based development, is going to if let's say a person is in the science or is in the STEM field, and the person is looking at doing policy or more of a research-based career. But when you are coming out to say things like, I want to work in, let's say, a private company, you're not doing anyone a favor. You're doing more of yourself a favor, you know. So they're not willing to fund you as much as they will fund someone that say wants to go into lecturing. So I tend to advise students to look at the research-based field because it tends to give them more scholarship.
Okay, thank you very much. A few people raised their hands. So Joseph Oseme, do you have a question for him? Kindly unmute yourself and let's hear your question. Thank you. Is he here?
Joseph Ajabi, you mean?
Oh yeah. Well, do you raise your hand?
Yes.
Okay, then go on. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joseph by name.
Yeah, you can go on, and if question, then he will. Otherwise, we'll have to wait for. We have a doctor coming in later, so he may be able to answer whatever question you have. But
I really
on,
want to do a PhD, and then I discovered that some programs they combine both masters and PhD, especially in the US and some other countries. So currently I'm preparing for my GRE, and then I was told that you have to contact the potential supervisor before the application, so as to increase your chances of gaining admission and then being funded. So I just want to ask if particularly other things for just before the application, and how do I really contact, how do I really like to work, so I just know, so as to increase the chance of getting admission.
Okay. Yeah. I'll just try to do just a particular question and be able to give you more details as to a sector-specific answer. But I've had the privilege to have friends that are in your sector or your field, and they've been giving me their experiences about this. So concerning the master's and PhD joint program, I've seen that a lot. A lot of schools like University of Alberta offer such programs. And one of the things that I find that they do is that they require very good GPs. And even though you don't have that, you must try to justify your extracurricular activities to meet that. So that's for me. Give me the permission to use this example. You see a particular girl, you want to date her. What do? You try to do a background check. You want to check her Instagram and check about her. When you're trying to see a supervisor, you want to cut the supervisor to be able to get him to accept an email, basically introducing yourself. My name is Adewale Ajayi. I have social interest. And you have to do your background check first. Go online. Checking you must do is to check probably quick law. Sorry, that's a law. Science Direct and all these particular websites. Read this article that relates to your interest. Now, let that be the substance of your conversation. So you're saying, "Good afternoon, sir. My name is Adewale Ajayi. I saw your profile online. I would like to work with you. I'm very much interested about your comment on, let's say, I don't know what this means, or let's say molecular biology or something like that. And I really like this. And I think that I agree with your particular point. The Nigerian sector, so and so is more applicable, and that forms the foundation of what I want to discuss about. My proposed topic is so and so. And I hope to hear back from you. Thank you for your kind consideration." That's it. Now, you can do that by attaching a sample writing that you've done so far, or your CV, or a work that you can attach to that so you can see what you've done so far. And you can also write a sample or a tiny statement of purpose indicating how your interest would align with the course that you want to do and why is the best suitable person for you. Now, ensure that it's not semi-formal, it must be perfectly formal, but also relatable. Make sure that you focus on the person and the work and how that attaches to your own particular interest. Not, please, sir, you're the least savior of my life. No, that's not what you need. You need to be able to, go into business and try to align both. So I think that's what I can give you concerning that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a very good response. And even while I was doing my, we'll take another question from the chat. This could be answered by either Fermi or Wale. They're asking, they want to know if you had to do IELTS exams to get in, and if you did not, how were you able to waive doing any of those exams?
So I did an MBA, but I didn't do I didn't do GRE. I just did TOEFL. But then my school doesn't need GRE for my exams to get in school. And there are some schools like that in Canada. It depends. Not all schools want your GRE. So like you have to search the requirements of the school. Sometimes you have to write TOEFL, but then you can easily get a waiver, even though I didn't apply for a waiver. You just have to be able to prove that you get that basically to your school. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that answered the question. I don't know if Wally wanted to add.
Yeah, so let me just add to that briefly. So for the lawyers their time and their money. Nigerian schools are seen as English-speaking institutions, so you don't necessarily have to do that. And some schools on other fields, like I have friends that have helped that did masters in human resources, some in marketing. You need to, if they require IELTS or TOEFL, it's your duty to send the university an email indicating that your first language that was used in your school was English. Now, when you look at a particular research, they'll find out and then they can give you an exemption. Many a times, there's always a link for exemption. Then you need to click on that particular link, and that link will tell you the different schools in Nigeria that be given an exemption for IELTS or TOEFL. Now for GRE, I know some schools make it mandatory that you do GRE, depends. So if you know you don't want to do that, you need to be able to look at schools that, like a friend of mine did, look at schools that would not require GRE from you. And yeah, so that's your work to do. But for IELTS, I tend to find out that many times they give Nigeria, especially in Canada, they give Nigerian schools a pass. Sometimes they might require it, but it's your duty to talk to the school and tell them that English was your first, what they call your first course and your first language in the university, and you don't necessarily have to do IELTS at all. Thank you.
Sorry, can I add a little bit? So, I read, it's not directly a half tuition. Now, as Wally already said, like, I did an MBA, and MBA is like an executive course, so they don't give scholarships for that because you don't really contribute to the school. But then it's very important that you state in your statement of purpose or whatever you write, as Wally said, that what you're going to do is contribute to society. But then if you're doing a thesis-based course, the school obviously we usually give a percentage of scholarship. It might not be full. They always check because you have to submit documents. They decide based on your documents. So they always check if you need funding. Then even apart from school scholarships, there are other institutions that give scholarships. So you can also receive that extra. And for example, my school gives a 100% scholarship for business courses in the School of Business for the MSc program. But I did the MBA, so I don't have access to that. But my school gives a 100% scholarship because you're doing work for the school. Yeah.
You're muted.
Hello?
Thank you very much, Wale and Fermi, for responding. We have one question from the audience. Gravity Z2. Please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Gravity Z2, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank Ms. Speaker Lomo for the privilege. I'm Emmanuel, and I studied political science and education. Okay, my question have been a bit answered about the IELTS and
yes.
so forth. But however, I still have another question, and the question is: I've tried to check from in Canada to see if I'll be able to get some so far scholarship. But probably I don't know if I'm not getting it right. I have not been able to get any hands on any. So I don't know if you guys assist me on how to get a scholarship from school that offers courses education, probably educational psychology, something that has to do to education or
medical school. Also check out University of Saskatchewan. They also offer a course on education. I have a friend that did that. So yeah, so how do you find out scholarships for these schools? That's where you do your homework. And what you do is very simple. You do two things. The first thing is to go on Google and try to look at all the schools that offer masters in education. You don't want to shortchange yourself. Like, I never thought I was going to go do oil and gas. My whole plan was to do something more related to like nuclear law, electricity law. That was not really my course at first. But I had to put myself and say, you know what, I must be willing to understand that many a times to get what you want, at first you might need to get together things, a much defined course. You want to look at all the courses that offer masters in education in Canada. And let me just do a very, very brief search for you, masters in education in Canada. And I've seen, let's see, I'm able to see about 143 master's degrees in education just by looking briefly. So I've seen 143 courses already. So those 143 masters, you now go to them one by one and check them and see if they meet your interest. Once you do that, the second phase is to now streamline those that offer scholarships and those that don't offer scholarships. And you want to know which is cost of this. My advice is to get what thesis based. So right now you should be thinking about what problem can I find in the educational sector and how do I want to solve it? That would form your interest in your research proposal. And then you can build that and make it, it's something that is relatable, that is feasible to actually change. You don't want to say, well, I want to change educational STEM maths, like we've not gone to maths yet. So you want to ensure that it's something that you can see and is feasible, right? So that's my advice to you. So I can send you the link, Gravity Z2. Okay, I'll send you the link and you can check that.
Thank you very much, Wale. We'll collect the links also for anyone else that is interested in hearing this, and we'll share to everyone. If you want these links, kindly send your email to the numbers in the banner you saw, in the graphic design banner you saw, and we'll send to everyone's emails.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. So the next facilitator that would tell us about his story is Mr. Casey.
Oh,
Mr. Casey.
okay. I guess I'll delve right in. So I started off, I graduated 2008 in Futo from agricultural engineering, where I specialized in soil and water engineering. Then I'm completing my NYSC in 2009. I moved to Abuja and worked for an engineering consulting firm that is interested in water resource development projects. That's where I met Laolu much later after. So I worked there from 2009 till October 2012. Then I moved to the Netherlands for my MSc in hydraulic engineering. But before that, so I already started applying to schools like 1 year before. So I got admissions both in schools in the US and in the UK. But then I had no scholarship. So given that my dad is a professor and he wants me to get this graduate degree because he felt like now that I'm working that I'll maybe be distracted because of making money. So he offered to pay for my fees in the UK at Imperial College, which was about £22,000 in 2010 to do a geotechnical engineering course. So I turned that down because that's a lot of money, £22,000 just for the tuition. So I had this feeling that I would get a scholarship. So I was bouncing around, applying, nothing turned up. But then when I got an admission at the university in the Netherlands, they called me and told me there is this new scholarship for engineers who've had 2 years working experience in water resource development. And it's offered by the Rotary Foundation in the US. So it's the first time they opened it up. I applied and I was invited for an interview. Of course, I made the necessary application, my CV, the essays, everything. So they interviewed me twice, and some other people who were applying all over the world. And I was amongst the 8 people that were selected. And the scholarship covered both the tuition, the stipend, flying from Nigeria, basically everything. I just had to take my bag to Holland. So that was how I studied in the Netherlands for 2 years. And on completion of my studies, 6 days after I moved back to Nigeria, I continued working for the company, but I only lasted for 3 months in Nigeria, and I had to move back to Europe again. The reason being that my professor at the time in the Netherlands moved to Sweden, a research engineer. So he called me up while I was already in Nigeria and said, hey, he wants me to join him back in Sweden. Let's continue what we've been doing in the Netherlands. But the trick is that here in Sweden, for PhD positions, it's considered a job, so it has to be advertised. So I had to go through the normal, proper ways of applying for PhDs, doing the interview. But he already told me, you are my guy. This is where having a relationship comes into play. I mean, my relationship with him started already in the Netherlands. He supervised my thesis. He taught me in so many courses. But like the previous speaker said, you can also do this by writing an email. So he was already confident that I can do the research. So during the interview, he now made an argument to the interviewing panel that I have worked with this guy for 2 years. I know his capacity. This is my guy. And that was it. So that was how I now had to move back to Sweden and continue with a PhD in engineering hydrology. So I'm specializing in flood management, so both structural and the social issues around it. So a few months ago, I became a junior lecturer at the university. So I don't know if my experience has not been that quite challenging when it comes to applying for graduate studies. It has always been very smooth to me, but I'm aware of the challenges that are experienced by people when they go into seeking out for admission abroad. And like our colleague who in Canada, I think I totally agree with whatever all he has said. That is the way to go about it. I'm done, Laolu.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Questions, yeah.
Thank you. I'm sure 1 or 2 persons will have questions. Habiba, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Ask your question.
Hello everyone.
Yeah.
My question was for the first 2 speakers. Well, the first question is sort of general and maybe more specific to the lady, Kike, because I saw on the banner that she is a student of Imperial College in the UK. So this is my question. I have this preference for UK schools, right? Studying in the UK. So, but one thing I usually hear from people and friends who most of my friends are in the US, and then they just usually say that yes, you could get admission in the UK, but it's harder to get funding. In the US, rather, you can get admission in the UK, pardon me, but it's harder to get funding in the UK than in the US. So I'd just like to ask about that. How I know there'll be opportunities, there'll be ways people go about it, but I'd just like to ask how one could go about getting funding for studying in the UK. Then from me, the second question I just want to ask is that I don't sponsor MBA. So are you saying that like there's no scholarship at all for MBA students? They don't have scholarships at all. You have to pay So that's my question.
All right. Kike, will you go first? I guess.
There's a mix.
Or should I start?
Yeah.
It is
Harry,
Tolu, not Kike. Tolu. Tolu. Oh,
Oops.
sorry. The host, the lady, the host.
because your tuition fee is very expensive. Like Casey mentioned, it was £22,000 in what year was that? Right now it's about 2010. Right now it's about £31,000, which is very expensive. So they don't usually like to give scholarships to international students. The best thing is to either find an external scholarship, or if you're very keen on getting a scholarship from school, they usually provide partial funding. It's
Okay.
usually I've not seen maybe maximum
You
of 50%.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you on funding? Are you on scholarship there?
Yeah, I'm currently on a scholarship, but from the government of Nigeria. And a few of my friends too at the Imperial College are also on scholarship from government of Nigeria, from Child
Nigeria.
Development
Okay. Okay. And
So,
as a geology student, I can apply for that. I'm open to that too, right? It's not like it's restricted to your field or to your
no,
course.
if you go online and search for this, we'll send you links to scholarships later on, and you can search for them. You'll see some scholarships are available to it cuts across a wide variety of courses, from the laws to the sciences to the arts. So it's not specific to my course. And okay, so Fermi will answer your question about, what was your second question?
Nice, the MBA one. Yeah.
Okay.
So like when I say they don't give, they might give like in a case, but like generally, since I've been looking for, they do not give MBA people scholarship, and the reason is simple because like an MBA is a master's in business admin, and it's usually for people that want to set up their businesses or already run their businesses. So the assumption is that you have money to spend. So that's why they don't give. Like in my MBA class, I'm like the youngest in my class, but like you have guys from people that worked in Google, people that worked in big companies. They don't, obviously those kind of people do not expect scholarships. So like that's what an MBA is. That's why it's different from an MSc, as Wally said. So it's very different. But there might still be schools that give. I'm not sure. I got for me, I got a tiny amount of scholarship as an ambassador for my school. So like there will be dean scholarships. So you'll be on the list for like, if you have good grades, they'll give you scholarship within the school. That's not before, but that's after the program.
Okay.
Or during the program. Yes.
Okay. We have one question here from the chat for Casey, and it says, I studied economics and I would like to switch to accounting. And I'm currently running a postgraduate program in Nigeria in accounting. I want to know if I can apply using my PGD to university in Sweden for accounting. And I also want to find out about, okay, yeah, that's the question. Well, he's studying a PGD in Nigeria and he wants to switch to accounting. So if he wants to know if he can apply with that postgraduate certificate.
Yeah, I have not. I think it should be possible to apply with the PGD. I mean, they would see it as an extra qualification, but it wouldn't get you to, if you are expecting to use the PGD to jump direct to the PhD, no, that wouldn't happen. So what you're aiming at is to get enter into an MSc program. So that should be possible, combining that with your bachelor's degree. For me, I don't see a reason why it shouldn't be. But the thing is that, okay, I've already shared the information related to scholarships when it comes to Sweden. But on average, these scholarships are few, and you should be expecting to be paid to pay tuition, just like the UK. That will be all.
Thank you, Casey. We have one more question from Gravity Z2.
Yeah.
Yeah, kindly unmute yourself. Gravity Z2. I think you're on mute. Yeah.
For village to get another chance of asking a question. All right. From Mr. Wale Ajayi, he answered my question the other time, and he actually gave me some steps to take, and in order to get a scholarship in